Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Atomic Self-Love Project. It is great to have you here again this evening. For those of you who are tuning in, I'm just so excited tonight. I have Alan Stevens waiting in the wings as my special guest, and I'm going to be introducing him in a minute. But before I do that, I just wanted to go through the quick protocol for tonight. If you have any questions, hello, everybody. Good evening. Well, about relationship communication, personal effective communication, corporate communication, or even business, anything that really relates to how you can connect with people more in a way that it is long lasting and it is a win-win situation and there's growth on both sides. I've got Julia Heckenberg, Samantha Love. Hello. Let us know where you're hailing from. Kylie Middleton's question is there anything I need to know? Kylie, not as such. I think that it is important to stay open and tune in until the end of the show and learn a lot more about certainty and confidence in communicating with your loved ones and with yourself and with anyone that you that is important for you to establish that communication with. So we've got Phyllis, Glenn, hey, hi, how are you? And Julia again is saying she's from Sydney. So I am from, I always say this just so that people can imagine where your speaker and your mentor is for the night. I live on the border of New South Wales and Queensland, and my guest tonight is from Sydney. If you're tuning in from America, which some of you do, it's very early in the morning for you. I'm not sure if you've changed into your daylight saving forward or backward yet, either one of those, but welcome if you're here tonight. Leanne is from Queensland and Kylie is from Brisbane. So, what I wanted to say about tonight is it's a bit like a continuation of last week's. We were talking about fearlessness last week, and I had so much feedback after the show and speaking to a few of you who have taken advantage of the free coaching that was on offer 3 days after that show. And we really covered so much about, a lot of us want to get started with a new project or a change in our lives, and we have done that a few times before, and often we find ourselves starting and stopping, and to the point that we are aware that when we may start something, we're going to stop again, and it's almost like a predictable pattern, and it's getting to a point that we tend to accept it. And for me, what I find is the common denominator amongst these, including myself in the past, amongst us, is that there is a blockage from the past that hasn't been addressed yet. There is a healing that needs to be had. And so empowered healing is, for me, and it really ties into the communication and to the guests that I have here tonight, because for me, empowered healing is, number one, recognizing the pain and embracing the pain and not running away from pain. And number two, it's being curious about that discomfort and that pain. But the most important for tonight is the growth mindset, which is number three in empowered healing. Now, the growth mindset is this. It's either, you've got the fixed or the growth mindset, right? Fixed mindset, simply when it comes to healing, is that thinking that there's only one way to skin a cat. There's only one way to heal a wound. There's only one way to solve a problem. Whereas with growth mindset in empowered healing is that being informed as to what are the things and the resources that are available to you. And I know for a fact, we all have different personalities. There are so many personality tests out there, and one healing modality may not work for you and the other may work for you better. And if you might want to stack different techniques and life hacks that would work for you, the quicker you will get to your transformation. Now, one of the things that I really am passionate about sharing in this show is, I'm determined to showcase so many different life hacks. I call them life hacks as to techniques on self-awareness and self-empowerment. And so tonight I am so excited and I'm so grateful that this gentleman had agreed to do an interview with me so I can share his talents and his decades of work with you, ladies and gentlemen, because I, for one, my favorite saying ever since I was like 14 years old is this. It's from a French poet called Michel de Montaigne. I might not be saying his name right, but it goes like this. I speak the truth, not so much as I should, but as much as I dare. And I do dare a little more as I grow older. So tonight, now without further, Carrie says a growth mindset is evolutionary mindset. Spot on, Carrie, because when you talk about evolution, it's acknowledging that we are growing into ourselves, that our light is shining and we're being more authentic to our essence. And so I love that word. So we've got Leon Knight, Phyllis from Virginia. Hello. Wow, what time is it over there? So Julia's question about communication is separating. We can't understand where each other is coming from. What can I do? We will address that. So, but let me, I'm so excited, introduce my guest for tonight. Now, Alan Stevens is an international profiling and communication specialist, regularly featured on national TV, radio, and in the world's press, profiling the likes of our leading politicians, TV, and sports stars, as well as Britain's royalty. He's been referred to by the UK Guardian as the leading authority on reading people globally, and the mentalist meets Dr. Phil by the Herald. Alan has worked with international clients, the likes of Disney Films and Gillette, and high-profile organizations like the Australian Federal Police to help them understand how people tick. Alan works with business owners and executives, helping them to understand and engage their clients and prospects, enhancing their presentations and negotiation skills, and with parents and teachers to help them enhance the ability of their children to reach their full potential while improving the experience of parents, teacher, and student. Now, he's focused on creating and training people who can do what he does best. And his latest community initiative is the Campfire Project. This project is a safe place for men and women to give themselves permission to tell their stories, to share their experiences and wisdom from around the world. This is his hashtag We Together initiative, and I have been a guest on that project recently. And I tell you, it's such a humbling experience to be able to communicate that the story that happened to me is something that is shared by everybody, and that we can all grow together by being vulnerable together and in effect being courageous together. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring on camera Alan Stevens. Are you with me? Hi,
yes,
Alan.
I am. G'day, how you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for being here tonight. So, Alan, it's interesting. Your expertise is about profiling and communications. Now, they are words that may, for me, I would love to understand profiling. But for me to understand that, I love to get to know people, and I think that many of our audience will connect with your story as well. Like, how did you become passionate about profiling and communications?
Well, mainly because I was so dreadful at it. But going back to when I was a young fella, my father died when I was 3. I lived with my mother and sister, and of course didn't really connect with a lot of people. I was pretty much a loner. And all through life, I've been put into the deep end, working with staff who were all older than me and having to get them on side. I've been in the surf club where I joined in my mature age, same age as everybody else at that stage. Became a patrol captain and found out they gave me everyone that nobody else wanted. That's the only reason they got me as a patrol captain. I then turned that into the patrol of the year, and then from there became a club captain and then zone supervisor of 3 beaches. But now same age as everybody else, but as they all pointed out to me, they'd been there since nippers, and virtually I'd only been there 5 minutes. And here I am telling them what to do. So, and then when my first wife left, I had 3 sons to raise on my own. They were 4, 11 and 12. So all through my life, I've had to deal with people, find ways of understanding them, but without any real guidance along the way. Growing up, having no male role models around me, that was a bit of an issue to start with. And then into later life, then going, well, now I'm raising 3 boys on my own with no real understanding of how to do that either. But it was when my second wife, I had a short marriage of a couple of years, and when she left as well, I realised that I had to learn how to read other people more effectively. About the same time, I was working with a company that taught currency trading, and none of their students made any money, even though they had a brilliant instructor who was a professional trader as well, very successful. And I realised that we needed to understand their personalities, and I needed to understand people more effectively. And so it's been a progression over all of that time. And that led me to then creating the Campfire Project, which was all about connecting with people at a much deeper level again. So my whole life has been one of building relationships, understanding people, and then sharing whatever I've learnt along the way so that others can do what I've done without having to go through the all the trials and tribulations and getting all the scars that I've got along the way.
Yeah, amazing. It's interesting that we can tell the things that had happened in it's almost like an overarching kind of view once you really work through that. And but for many of us, we could still be in the pit of it all, in the nitty gritty of things, and so we don't have the overarching view. But we have very real experiences currently with, with like you said, been through breakdowns of communication, breakdown of marriage, even in corporate, the goals are not being achieved because people are not connecting. And so many of us are still in these very real events in our lives. And so it's hard to have the overarching of, okay, that's what I need to do. It's more like, what's going on kind of thing. So take us through when you felt the need, right, after a few incidents, after significant life events, and you felt the need to understand people more, to understand how to connect more. What was the what's one thing that really stood out for you that's very important for a person to understand when it comes to being able to connect?
Well, the first thing I realised, and goes beyond the communication or the being able to read people, the first thing I learned was I had to be open to new ideas. One of my favourite sayings is the most important thing I'll ever learn is the next thing I learn after I think I know everything. So having an open mind has been the major thing for me, and that's allowed me to work in so many different areas. My background, 23 years with telecom, and then finally working through most industries you could think of, high-speed printing, mailing houses, computer virus, software, all sorts of things. I then became a massage therapist. I've worked with aromatherapy, sound therapies, colour therapies, and in fact introduced colour and sound therapies into the Singapore hospital for the kids with ADHD. I've had my Reiki masters, NLP masters, and I've just been adding modality after modality, but each one, it hasn't really been one thing in particular, other than having that mindset to start with, but then it's just been adding new things along the way and just realizing that not one thing, as you mentioned before, one modality may not be the solution, or it won't be the solution for everybody, because there's no two people on the planet with the same personality. I know all the psychometric tests out there try to put you into boxes. I come along and take you out of the box and treat you as an individual standing in your own right, separate from everybody else on the planet. And in that, I realized that no one modality is going to fix any issues that you have. It's the combinations, and the combinations will vary from person to person. So when I'm working with somebody, if I believe that I'm not the best person for them, I'll find the best person for them, because it's all about making that person the center of their universe and me just being a satellite around that and bringing other people in who can help them. So it's having that abundance mindset has been important for me, and learning to read people, to connect with them because I want to build a stronger relationship, not because I want to be able to control a situation.
Wow, brilliant. I love that. Like, it's about the person who is evolving and growing. Yeah, and true, there's so many personality profiling things that you can do. Myers-Briggs, the DISC, the Gallup, I don't know, Colby A, Wealth Dynamics,
2,500 of them.
what have you. Yeah. But you know, and so the open mindset, the growth mindset, the abundance mindset that you're talking about is perfect in our world, especially now,
Mm,
because we have so many different experiences, and not one healing modality is going to work, but stacking it and having that open mind.
that's
And
it.
what I love about you, Alan, is that you are the champion of this kind of self-empowerment. Like, you are in charge of your own destiny. Therefore, an open mind as to how you're going to do that is, and you were the demonstration, right? So you didn't know communication and connection. You realized that there was an issue there. You're going to address it, and then you used an open mind because you didn't think, I'm going to address this by using A, and I'm not going to use B because A will work for me. You just had the open. It might be from A to Z, whatever that takes.
Mm.
And so I'd love to hear about, because you are the profiling communication specialist. I want to learn more about this word profiling. What exactly does that mean?
Well, profiling, it's all about being able to understand somebody more effectively in all aspects, their personality, their emotions, be able to read all of that. Now, I know that the word profile, and the first thing that goes through everybody's mind is CSI, you know, the Mentalist, or Lie to Me, and those sort of shows. Well, it's more than that. They're mainly focused on catching criminals. If I'm using, say, the micro expressions, which are little twitches on our face, that when something happens around us or something is said, we unconsciously respond, and we'll give it away in our facial expressions and our body language. Then our conscious mind steps in and shuts it off. That can be as fast as a fifth of a second down to 1/25th of a second. It's faster than the click of the fingers, but the human eye can pick it up. And so that side of it, it sounds real sexy to be able to catch people out when if they're telling the truth or not. But some people use it as that lie detector. I use it as a truth seeker. So if I'm talking to somebody, I want to see those expressions and realize what's going on emotionally for them. And this means that I need to observe more. And that's what profiling is about. It's observing. You know, and this may sound a bit crazy to people, but your facial features will give away your personality. It will tell me how you like to think and process. And if you think of it, if you lift weights, if I did bicep curls, I'm going to build my biceps up. I won't build my triceps up unless I do tricep extensions in the other direction. If I work my upper body but don't work my legs, you'll see it in the shape. And it's the same thing, that at the same time, everything we feel inside, we express outwardly. That's why the micro expressions and the body language have such an impact. We can see if somebody's happy or sad or angry or anything like that. But if you think in a certain way over and over, you concentrate really deeply and you exercise, move the muscles on your face, and you keep repetitively moving those because that's the way you like to think and process, you'll create ridges and crevices on your face. You'll change the structure of your face over time. So if I can see your photograph, LinkedIn profiles, websites, social media, anywhere like that, I've got your personality. So that's the first thing. Profiling is understanding how somebody likes to take in information, how they like to be spoken to, and how they're likely to respond in any given situation. Then by watching them, I know how to talk to them. So if I've got your photograph, I've already worked out your personality. I can put a presentation together. As I'm talking to you, then I've got your body language and expressions. Again, then give me the feedback on, have I connected with you? Is there something emotionally going on? And yes, at the tail end, when you're talking to me, are you telling me the truth? But I'm using that particular aspect of it to work out why you may not be telling me the truth. What's the emotional reason behind it? Not to catch you for lying, but to see if I can understand why. So that then I can help you to work through that. Because if I'm doing a sale and you're upset and there's something else going on, I'm wasting my time trying to sell to you. But if I can make that connection with you and help you uncover what the issue is and deal with it, then I've built great rapport with you. And who do you want to do business with? And
Wow.
so everything is connected. And the more that I can treat the person in a holistic way by using all of those skills and taking the time to listen to them as well. Because one of the biggest things they're saying today is that when somebody starts talking and explaining something that's going on, they talk about their emotions, it's on average about 19 seconds before the other person will jump in and try and tell them what to do. Now, in 19 seconds, we cannot get enough information. But the reason people do that is if you're talking about something that's really deep, that's emotionally connecting within you, then they feel that, because the second level of emotional or empathy is emotional empathy. We have cognitive, to be able to see whether you're in pain. Emotional, I feel your pain. But the third level is compassionate. How can I help you through that pain? What can we do to work it? But most people get stuck on the emotional empathy. I feel your pain. I don't want to feel it. So I'll jump in and give you advice on how to fix your problem when I don't even know what the problem is. So it really comes down to being able to understand the personality, talk to the person, get the feedback and everything else, and treat them with respect. You know, if it's painful, you know, you're feeling their emotion, it feels a bit yucky, you don't want to be involved in it. Give the other person a bit of respect and just take that on for a little while, because if you support them, they will be over it. They'll move through it quickly. They'll let it go. You're able to let it go, and you haven't become part of the problem by trying to fix it and not knowing what you're doing. So this is all about the communication, and the more that we do that, the better we can connect with somebody and the less problems that we have.
Yeah, yeah, wow. It's there. It's a whole world of information and techniques. So thank you. But with the profiling, it's just I'm gonna break it down what you said.
Yep.
But for me, when this is how it can get really useful, especially I believe, is that, like you said, you know, if you're with a client, for example, you know, just knowing what to observe and what to look out for, that just, it's the empowerment on how to empathize with what they're going through as you're going through your whatever that is, your spiel, your speech, or your structure of what you have to say. But also, when you mentioned about the 19 seconds, and people get stuck in the second stage of empathy. So you've got the cognitive, and the second one is emotional, and the third is compassionate. And they get stuck in the emotional because they feel it, and it becomes about them rather than you sharing. So I know, and in coaching, for example, if when you have a client who's really in the moment and just expressing emotion, the best thing to do is nothing, to just let it be, because it's just the biggest opportunity to see what goes on there, and to allow, and so the communication becomes more in flow when you hold back and just have that listening. But where I'm really most interested, Alan, is the first part of what you see. You know, the profiling is all about observation, because I know that you do profiling for couples, correct? Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so it's so before I actually go to that, I'm just going to go back to some comments and see if we have deeper question, because I know I have a question related to relationships before. So we've got I'm just gonna review. So Julia's question was about, we can't understand where each other is coming from. And so I think from what she's saying, they're on the verge of separation or separating already. So with that question, and I'm going to ask you a subset question to that. But for me, in my personal experience, where I find profiling to be so very useful is this, right? Many couples out there, they find either both of them or one of them have a real blockage to actually seeking professional marriage counseling help. And so for many couples out there, that level of help, counseling, is so in-depth and it's so scary. And so I believe that if couples learn to profile and communicate better with one another, I think it's a more proactive and timely kind of skill to have.
Definitely.
Like, I'm just imagining, like, me and my partner, for example, if we were so familiar and so well observed of each other's mannerisms and the way that we move our bodies and the way that we raise our voice tonality, then nothing much really escapes us. And we're so, you know, when you're so dedicated to an open communication for harmony and love, then it's that saying that don't ever go to bed mad at each other kind of thing. So yeah, so I'd love for you to expound on how can this be a really good device for couples to thrive on an everyday basis.
Okay, well, first of all, as I said before, there are no two personalities on the planet that are identical. Everyone's different. Even twins will have differences in their personalities. So being able to understand your partner's personality traits, every trait has an upside and every trait has a downside. Say, for instance, the aesthetic appreciation. And the aesthetic appreciation and dramatic appreciation are the opposites of each other. And this one is a major thing in relationships. Dramatic appreciation is somebody who likes to express outwardly. They need to verbalize things. They need to get it out. Whereas aesthetic appreciation is how it feels inside. So if one partner feels things inside, when they get stressed, they withdraw back to their cave because in my case, I have aesthetic appreciation. I have to fix it. So I will pull back and I'll go quiet and I'll start thinking about the solutions to the problem. How do I work through this? Now, if my partner has dramatic appreciation, they'll want to know what's going on and they'll be asking me what's going on. So what I will naturally do is withdraw further because I'm trying to fix this problem. I can't do two things at once. I can't explain all that. And it's too difficult to explain because I'm still trying to get it right in my own head. But if I realize that they need to know, then I can always say to them, and if they know how to read me and they know that's my traits, they can also ask the same question that I will then make as a statement. And the question is this: the person with dramatic appreciation asks their partner who's gone quiet, is that something to do with me, first of all? And if the answer is no to that, is it something I can help you with? If the answer to that's no, then it's a statement after that. I know that you need to get your head around this yourself. You need to work on it on your own. I'm going to leave you alone to do that, but come and talk to me when you're ready. And at that point, the person with aesthetic appreciation goes, oh, thank you. Then they can focus on what they're doing. And they're going to be appreciative of that, and they're going to come back sooner. So if my partner has dramatic appreciation and they're asking me those questions, I'm going to turn around and go, look, first of all, it's nothing that you've done. It's really nothing that you can help me with. This is something I need, excuse me, this is something I need to get my head around. I just need time to think and work through it, but I'll come and explain it to you as soon as I've got it sorted. That would then appease them. So I can make it as a statement or they can ask it as a question. If I'm talking to someone who's got a dramatic appreciation, I know they'll be quite animated about it and they'll be talking about it. And I will go, okay, is this something you want me to fix or do you just want me to listen? Because I can do either one. And if they turn around and say, yes, I want you to fix it, then okay, it could be something I've done, or it could be something that I can just help them to fix and get out of the way. And if they say, no, I just want you to listen, then I know they just need to vent. And in that, I know it's not about me. And if I love that person, if I really care for that person, I will just hold their space and know that, okay, emotionally, I might be starting to feel it, but I don't take it on because I know the priority here is they need to vent and they need to have human ears and human eyes watching them while they vent. They don't want my mouth to be in operation. As they say, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in that proportion. So if they've told me they just want me to listen, I'll sit down quietly, listen to what they've got to say. And when they've finished venting, I know they're fine, they feel fine, but I also know not to take it on. And so I feel fine as well. And if I care for them, then I've held that space for them. In the Campfire Project, I sit there for 45 minutes to an hour hearing people telling me their stories, and they go into horrific backgrounds. And because I have that attitude of just holding space for them, I don't have that feeling of emotional empathy where I get involved and get caught up in it. And people have actually made comments about it. They've talked about some horrific things and said, you've listened, you've held space, but you didn't get caught up in it. And I go, no, that wouldn't have helped you one little bit if I had. And they go, no, and thank you for sitting there and listening to me. That's the whole thing, that when you're holding space for somebody, you know how to detach yourself emotionally from what they're saying, but you're emotionally connected to them, not the problem that they're talking about. And that makes a huge difference.
Yep. So it makes so much sense. It's I think, a lot of people's personality, and I think I'm the same sometimes, is that I am better off to process things by myself, because but I could be 50-50 as well. Sometimes I like to talk it out, so it really, being a woman, but yeah, it's self-awareness and also awareness of the other half. And I feel that I feel, and you can correct me on this, but I feel that at any stage of a relationship, a marriage relationship, whether that's a honeymoon stage, whether that's a building the relationship stage, or for Julia here, our listener tonight, they are on the verge of separation and they can never understand where each other is coming from. And even in that stage, I believe that it's always a good place to come from is to try and mitigate the communication by being willing to get to know each other's way, to observe, if you will, to profile each other. So Alan, can I ask you, for Julia here, what would be the first step that you could point her to? I don't know if that is to visit your website, or just to maybe explore if this is something that you could potentially alleviate some of the pain in that misunderstanding.
Okay, well, first of all, if you come online tonight, she's opened up and she shared with you, and she's had the willingness to do that. If she likes, I'll happily have a short chat with her. If she messages me, and that, I'll have a quick chat with her, give her some advice. Because if we do it via Zoom as well, I can see her face and I can tell her a bit about her personality. It's like you just mentioned then how you can be of two minds. Yes, in your face, I can see there's a little bit of a symmetry in your face. You're right-handed, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, so that's your dominant side. So where the asymmetry is, and I'm looking at the shape of your eyebrows in this particular case, I know that on your left side, there is some dramatic appreciation. There's some design appreciation, being able to express yourself really well. On the right side, I'm seeing a bit of mechanical appreciation, which is organizing people in events. So when it comes to problems, sitting down and working those out. So yes, you'll express yourself at certain times, but there'll be other times when you'll just go, no, just leave me alone, let me buckle down, and you'll come back with a solution really fast. And so I can see that in your face straight away. So
wow.
If I can see that if Julia likes to organise a time to have a chat with me, I'll give her a quick rundown on what I'm seeing in her personality. She can explain, I'll ask her about some of the facial features of her partner. She can then tell me what they're like, and then I give her some ideas on how to actually see how she can start to improve that communication.
Wow, Julia, I hope you got that, because I've just been profiled and how it was spot on. So that was very cool experience for me. So Julia, all you've got to do is when we finish the show, you'll be able to find Alan somehow. I'll post his website's actually on the top of this video, so that's even easier. So just connect with him. So how awesome is that? Okay, so cool. Now, Alan, before I move on to my own personal, to my own inquiries about your expertise, I have another question from one of our audience, and it goes. So Tennille O'Brien says that I'm struggling to communicate. We are struggling to communicate each other's feelings, not feeling heard. My partner gets angry when he feels guilt or is accused of anything, always argues instead of wanting to talk. And when we talk, it can be one-sided. So what I'm seeing here is, so there's some words that are really descriptive of a misunderstanding. There's anger, there's guilt, there's argument, there's one-sided. And so please, do you have any words for our for Tennille?
Yeah, it comes back to the communications. Think about, as we've been going through society, one of the reason I really started the Campfire Project, originally it was for men to be able to share their stories. but I had women in there because it was necessary for men to be able to, or first of all, for women to be able to hear how men can speak when they felt safe to do so. And we really built a connection between them. But at the same time, for the men, then once they started understanding themselves and working through both issues in their life, they need to be able to connect with their partners, their family, etc. Because for men to become better men, we only do that for the purpose of having better relationships with our partners, our children, our families, our communities. So it's only, and that's why the hashtag we together. On our own, we do not solve problems as just men on our own or women on their own. We are not solving problems. We are really tribes that are separated. It's only when we stand shoulder to shoulder looking at the problem and fixing the problem together that we find solutions. Because when we're looking at each other, and that's will be the conversation that's going on there, looking at each other, and therefore we're blaming without even saying anything. We're picking up that the blame is being put on us from the other person. That'd be going both ways. Now, for men, one of the biggest issues was, and this is why I started the Campfire Project, they didn't know their role in the family. They didn't know their role at work. We've had all these political correctness, which has caused so many issues. Instead of fixing problems, we've got everybody to change. And so with that, we've also had men who didn't know how to speak at work because the way we used to talk with other men, not a problem. But we had to be careful about how we were talking and how it would be taken. We also then thought we were out there at work to bring the money in, to be the provider. But then we had to be at home to be emotionally connected. And how can we be in two places at once? Men don't multitask. One thing at a time and we can do it really well. There's a bit of stereotyping, but roughly it's fairly accurate. So when people are confused and they get frustrated, that's when anger comes out. So it could be just in the way that the comments are being phrased, that the partner then is taking it the wrong way. It may not be being meant that way, but they're picking up that energy and therefore responding in a combative way. So it comes down to the way we use the words. It also comes down to pre-framing things as well, by being able to set the situation up. If I've got somebody who is very analytical and then they're talking to somebody who just wants the overview, but they've got a lot of information they've got to give the other person just wants the least amount of information to make a decision. And if I'm the analytical one talking to the big picture person, I'd be saying to them, look, there is a lot of information here, but what I'm going to do is give you the overview and then you can ask the questions that you want to ask. That person then straight away thinks that, oh, I'm going to be spoken with. I'm not going to be spoken at, because normally this person just gives me so much information and I just don't know how to handle it. But then if I added to the end of it, look, if there's something there that that you haven't asked, that I think you need to know, as well, if I tell you that then. I give the overview, the person asks their questions, we have this backwards and forwards conversation. And then at the end of it, I go, well, remember I said there might be something that you needed to know that you may not have asked? That boring stuff, we're there now. Usually a bit of a giggle between that, but it flows nice because it's been a conversation. But if I just start giving all the information and of course the other person doesn't know how to respond, I just keep giving it to them. And all I do is get somebody who switches off, and they'll either just switch off and go away, or if they're in that situation where they can't move away, they're going to fire back. So again, it's looking at how we're communicating. It's not a matter of them tuning their receiver into our transmitter. Yes, when we're listening to a radio station, we know that 107.5 is the particular radio station. So everybody who wants to listen to it has to tune all their receivers into 107.5. But when we've just got one transmitter trying to get a message across to a receiver, it's the transmitter's job to tune into the receiver. So the more that we know how they like to be spoken to, we can then phrase things in a way in which they can take it in, because we want to get the message across. And we've got a lot on our mind and we just want to get it out. Yes, that's getting it out. It's just like having vomited on it. It's not going to go across really well. So we've got to find a way of how do we tune it in and actually speak to them in a way in which they don't take offense, that they understand where we're coming from and they're not taking things personally. And there are a few traits that I can see in people's faces. I'll tell you the ones that will take things personally, and you have to be really careful when you present it to them. But as I said, every trait has an upside and every trait has a downside. So the downsides come out when we're under stress, but where the real gifts are, the things that attracted us to them, will be the high side of those traits. And what attracted us to them, we just get used to over a period of time. And where we think they've changed, we've now just started noticing the downside of their traits. They haven't changed at all. We've just gotten used to the upside of the traits.
Yeah.
So once we understand all that, we then know how to change the way they like to be spoken to. It doesn't take long within a couple to be, once they start doing that, to work on the issues, solve those out, and even bring the lust back into the relationship.
Well, there you go. Did you guys hear that? Bring the passion back. And it's so true. When you talk about, normally we see our partner's high side when they're on, when the relation, it's usually the honeymoon period, for example.
That's it.
We just see we're so happy, we're so excited, and there's no stress because it's all good. And then life happens. We have children, change jobs, having to move cities or whatever. And then so the stress starts to come into the life. And so the way that we communicate is still the same, but just the triggers are triggering a different part, which is the part where it's dealing with stress. And so nothing's changed, but it's just you're seeing a little bit more of a different side because there is more stressors and there are more dynamic factors that are affecting what you are currently doing. So it's so fundamental to set the relationship up for success by understanding one another. And where my biggest breakthrough is when you said it's not like a radio, one-way radio where, okay, this is the frequency, we all have to tune into that. It's actually the reverse. When you want to speak and say something, you've got to tune in into the frequency of the receiver instead of the receiver. So it's not a simple thing to do, and therefore, and it's very important as well. And I know that with my partner and I, for example, he has this style of suggestion. He uses suggestion to convince me. So words like, so do we want to do it tomorrow or do we want to do it the next day? And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't know if there's a we in wanting to do that to start with, but you know what I mean? Like I know exactly what he's trying to do is to make it easier. But yeah, so it's just being aware. But I guess I digress with that. But when it comes to like what Tennille is saying is the anger and the blame and all the guilt and that. I love what you said about standing together shoulder to shoulder rather than facing each other and talking at, because it's the biggest tendency that we have. And I know when when you've got an object in front of you and you're standing together and so you're working together and how are we going to deal with this? It feels so much better because I got you and you got me. And so I love that. I love that. So
there's only one time when you really want to be like that with somebody, or two times. You're playing bridge, for instance, the card game where your partner's opposite you. Then the other time is when you're dating for the first time, you're sitting in a restaurant or whatever, you can look straight at each other. You can play footsies under the table, the whole bit. That's the only time you want that. Every other time, that is a confrontation. And you generally find that when somebody's feeling threatened, they actually become aggressive and they step in. And that's when you know that their insecurities, it's not that they were angry because they're an angry person or that was their primary thing. That was a reaction to the fact that they're insecure. So if a partner is fighting back when you start to explain things, then you know that emotionally they're feeling inferior. They don't feel as good as what they could. So this is why explaining why you're asking the questions, so they can understand that you're looking for a solution. You're not looking at blaming, because if they're feeling self-conscious, they already feel like they're being blamed. And the thing is, when people, and think about it, anytime anybody attacks you, you usually respond in that kind. And think about it, just go to the extreme. Somebody walks past you in the street and they smile. What do? You smile back. You feel good inside. And the more people that do it, the more you feel good. If people went past and they looked at you really sternly and they looked angry and everything else, you'd feel threatened and you'd pull back. And think about it. What follows after that is a bit of anger, contempt, disgust, and things like that. So then negative emotions then start to come in. And if the other person picks that up, that then escalates back to you. And next thing you know, this backwards and forwards thing, it's just getting bigger and bigger. And it just blows out of proportion. So if we're able to understand where the other person's coming from, and this is really one of the things I learned over time. So as I said, I went through 2 divorces and a lot of relationships in between. And that was because I didn't have these skills. But now I look back and I think, oh, you know, so many other things I could have said along the way, handled things differently. And whether I still want to be in any of those relationships, I don't know. I like who I am today, and I am the sum of all my experiences. So everything that's happened to me in the past has made me who I am today, and I like that person. So really, I look back on those things in the past and I go, yep, they were there for a reason, and I'm quite happy with that. So, but, you know, to have that knowledge now and to know looking forward and how I go through life now is having those skills, connecting with those people. And this is how you have, well, I look at it and go, right, what's your currency within the business that you run? I get a lot of coaches who tell me that they are coaches who teach other coaches to become 7-figure coaches and things like that. And I go, okay, always ask the coach, what's their currency? How much money have they got in the bank? Well, my particular business is about relationships. So my currency is relationships. And if people then want to find out how wealthy I am with relationships, go to my website and look at all the interviews and testimonial videos and the relationships I've got through the Campfire Project. It's the more that you focus on being able to connect and communicate with people, you'll find that the relationships will grow. So the more you can connect with that partner, understand them first of all. Don't try and fix them. Don't expect them to change. We are everybody else's environment. If we want someone else to change, we have to be the change that we want to see in them. So if I start talking to somebody differently, like if I'm smiling at them one day and then I'm scowling at them the next, it's going to change their behavior very quickly. So think about, well, how can I have that conversation, get my message across without them feeling threatened, explaining to them why I'm actually asking this, explaining how you're feeling and relate it to how you're feeling, not what they're doing to you. Because at the end of the day, nobody does anything to anybody else. What they may do, they may say something, they may do something, but how we respond to it is 100% our choice. If we realize that we respond and get angry and everything else because we choose to, if you change that approach and go, okay, instead of responding with argument, if I can then ask them, well, why do you feel about that? What exactly is going on? Let me understand so I can do something about changing the situation. I'm not saying that I'm at fault, but if you give me more information, what you're actually telling the other person's telling me is giving me guidance on being able to understand their problem and therefore being able to help them through that problem. And I never need to take blame for anything that I've done because they were looking for a solution. I was looking at not being blamed. That's where the mismatch was. But the moment I say, okay, I want to help them through understand whatever their situation is and help them, then all of a sudden my attitude to them changes. That energy changes and we are energy beings. They will pick it up very quickly. They will notice a difference. They will notice you coming from a different angle and therefore may not respond immediately because you need to get a little bit of proof. If somebody's behaved in a certain way for a long time and all of a sudden they're changing differently, we want to go, well, is that normal? Is that something that's going to be permanent? What's really going on here? Is that a manipulation? Once they realize that, hey, you have changed the way you're trying to talk to them, then they will respond to it. And that's when the other person changes.
Yeah, it's very fundamental, actually. I remember when I first, so my children are now 19 and 16, but when they were very small, I used to go to a mother's group. And one of my mentors in that mother's group taught us that we were very young moms. And she taught us to, bless her, Mary has now passed. She taught us to, when the kids threw tantrums and just like started screaming or doing things that make you rattled as a mother, as a new mother, she taught us to kneel down to their level and actually say something like, honey, I feel, like it's always I feel, like it's about I feel.
Yeah.
Like because it's so easy to just react to the tantrum and panic and go, what the hell is going on? And it's so fundamental, because I've learned that as a young mother, and when you change the way you react and speak to someone, they might need some time to decide whether that's genuine or not. And how that actually impacts real life, especially in parenting, is that someone asked me about 12 months ago, she was aspiring to be a new mom, right? Wanting to have a baby. And she said, how do you raise good kids? And I said, well, you don't actually kind of like consciously say, I'm going to raise good kids. You just role model, because they will do what they see you do and say. And that's exactly, it's all about people do observe and profile you, even without knowing that they're observing and profiling you. And it becomes an unconscious embedded knowledge to them, especially your own children and your, your spouse as well. They could pick up that you're, I don't know, you've
That's
got your spouse like this.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that, and first of all, when it comes to children, a lot of parents go off. They're breaking me. And no, they're not trying to break you. They're testing you to see whether you can hold. That's what they're after. That's why they're reading it. They're expert profilers. But as we get older, it's a skill that, like anything else, if we were riding a push bike and then stop riding a push bike, getting back on the push bike is pretty shaky after, a long break away from it. It's the same thing with reading people. Everybody, except for a very small percentage of people who can't read facial features and expressions and can't recognize people, every other child was a perfect profiler. They pick up your energy really quickly and they respond to it. What you say has to correlate with what you do. Like, how many times you heard somebody that's spoken and everything they've said was being perfect, but you had that gut feeling something was wrong. You didn't trust them. That's because you picked up the non-verbals that have said there's a mismatch between what they've said and how their body's responding to it. Or they've remind you of somebody who's done the wrong thing by you in the past, and you just have that bias, that just unconscious bias that comes in. But the whole thing is that if the body language and the expressions, their tone of voice, their behaviors don't match what they're saying, we will always ignore the words and go to the other. So when you say to somebody, look, I really do care, but you're responding in a way in which there's anger, and the person's going to go with the anger, they're not going to listen to what you've said because it doesn't match. There's a mismatch there. So again, before I have a conversation with somebody, I just get my energy right as well. Take a breath, think about it, think about the outcome that I'm looking for. And I focus on that, and then keep my language and the way I'm talking to the person in line with that. So if it's other things, because they're going to throw back their feelings and everything else. And if I respond to their emotions and in a negative way, because they're angry or whatever, I'm going to compound the problem, because I just add fuel to the fire. They throw a bit more fuel on, then I throw a bit more fuel on. And this is where things break down.
Yeah. I have a very curious question. When you just talked about someone may have an incongruent message trying to be kind, but there's a mismatch there, and therefore the recipient is going to pick that up. So when it comes to part of profiling and observing, obviously is a big part is nonverbal, right? And so when it comes to for a person's own personal benefit and to profile someone for their own protection, is it safe to say that the denser energy in the message always gets more impact? Like when you say trying to be kind, but they have an angry demeanor that's unsaid and nonverbal, therefore that's what's going to be more,
that's what they're going to pick up.
Dominant. Yeah, the heavier the denser energy. Okay. Yeah, cool. Because that's a very important lesson. Alan, I know as an entrepreneur, for example, when I first transitioned from corporate to my own business endeavors, and I know there's a lot of viewers here that are in transition or actually thinking about transitioning from corporate to their own business. And one of the things that you're going to consider is to get yourself a coach, you know, whether that's your business coach, that's your mind, whatever. But when you get a coach, sometimes it's easy to fall into the star effect of the coach. Like they have so many followers, there's so much hype about their marketing, and then you get attracted to that. And then it's a common experience that when you hire the coach and you get working with the coach, that there is a mismatch, and you feel bad for choosing badly. But so this could be real profiling skills that you can develop. Is the observe for me now, what I've learned from that personally, because now years into entrepreneurship, is that you observe away from the hype. Is definitely a big thing. Like away, you observe, not surrounded by the hype energy, and just do your own diligence when you're in a state of just you are centered to yourself and looking for the best thing for you, and not making decisions because of the hype. Is that like a part of being a good profiler?
It is. Well, first of all, and this is something I advise everybody to do, if you're looking for a coach, it's taking your time to do your due diligence and ask questions as well. Conversation I had yesterday, one of the things is that the people were starting to realize that it wasn't so much the people who really had the skills as the people who had the best marketing and sales techniques who were getting the work. And some of the best coaches weren't picking up clients. And so this is one of the reasons, this is why I'm out there to train as many people as I can. If I train a salesperson, for instance, people say, oh, you're just making it better for them. No, I want to train their clients as well, so we can get more honesty and understanding of each other. But when I look at it, in the first case, when I've had all the other modalities, and it was through somebody just mentioning to me one day, you ever looked at reading faces, that I then got interested in that. And as I said, most important thing I've ever learned is the next thing I learn after I think I know everything. And I found the two specialists, one with the facial features, one with the facial expressions. I worked with their groups and then brought together and created what I've got. And I was looking at how do I brand my business? And I was at a group meeting of a whole bunch of, with thought leaders, a whole bunch of coaches and other things. And I watched around, looked at the people, and I saw this woman, went over to her and I said, look, I'd like to hire you as my branding coach. And she said, but you haven't even spoken to me. I said, well, this is what my business is about. And by the way, I've just profiled your face. I know that you'd be great at this work. She said, but you don't even know what I charge. And I went, well, the woman over there, she charges more than you, but she might be able to, but I don't think she can do it as well as you. And she charges more. I said, and the guy over there, he's not going to come anywhere near you. Yes, he's a lot cheaper than you, but he hasn't got the skills. Anyway, after we talked and I found out I was spot on the amount of what each of them would charge, she was in the middle, and she was perfect at what I needed in the branding coach. She had a mixture of the symmetry in her face, gave me the information to know that she'd be really good at what she did, and she proved to be that. So being able to recognize the other person's traits and be able to profile in that way gives you that. But to everybody else, I go, take that time out. Don't rush into it. If they're, got a great following and everything else, that's probably just the marketing. They may have a great following because they're good at what they're doing, but there's a good chance it's just the marketing. It's in the conversation. Find out their story. How did they get to doing what they're doing now? What things did they go through? And that's when you then listen, when they're telling you that, they've been through hardships and everything else, because most people who get into coaching got into coaching because they went through hardships. They needed it. I became a lifeline counsellor because my life, putting it bluntly, was crap. I'd just been through my second divorce. It was a major disaster. And so I did the training mainly to help myself through it. But then because I was picking it up so quickly, they taught me to be a telephone counsellor. And that then sort of led me on. But I realised all the way through, I kept on learning new skills because I was trying to improve my life. But one thing I did was, once I learned something, then I would share it. So I don't coach on anything I don't know. That's why I said, if I've got a client and I realise somebody can look after them better than me, I will send them to that person very quickly, because hanging on to them doesn't help my reputation. But by putting them with somebody who can really help them better than me, I raise my reputation up in not only their eyes, but they go and tell everybody else as well. And so
Yeah.
listen to what they're saying, ask them questions, watch their body language and their expressions and everything else. And the more that you observe and you see correlation, if you don't get that feeling that, well, something's not right here, there's a good chance you've got a good coach. If they've said everything that lines up, that sounds right, they've given you a good story about what they've been through and how they learned, you know, how they went through that. Because I always have a coach, and I always will to the day I die. But my coaches are always, what am I going through now? What do I need to learn? I go and find a coach who's already worked through it, because I can learn from their experience. You know, somebody can be textbook taught. This is why a lot of psychologists out there, some of them are absolutely brilliant, and others, same as life coaches and business coaches, there's some out there that are, you know, have no life experiences whatsoever. And they're textbook, you know, they've got good marks in their courses, but they don't have the skills to take that role on. How do you tell the difference between them? You talk to them, you ask them questions, and you listen. And as I said before, not just with your two ears, but your two eyes. And we, you know, ask questions in proportion with the one mouth. So ask the question, watch, listen, pick up as much as you can. And what if you feel right that things are, you know, feel okay? And the more time you spend doing that, then it, you know, there's no instance where you get that, oh, something's wrong. Then you're pretty confident you've got somebody who can help you. And also go and talk to some of their clients that they've been working with and see what they've got to say.
Yeah.
I've still got people in my that I've worked with 10 years later still doing testimonial videos for me and singing my praises. And so, yeah, and there's a lot of coaches out there that are that's a sort of quality in their particular fields. And if that's the field you need, go and get them.
Yeah, yeah, great advice, everybody. And if I may just add, when you look for those people that can really vouch for that coach, just listen to the transformations that they're going through, because those are what you're looking for. Now we're about to run out of time, which is gone really quick. So I want to see if I have one more question that we can address in the audience. Just give me 1 second. So we have Melissa Davis Arias said, I feel very closed off and don't feel as deeply as I should about people, like something has happened when I was young and I do this for protection. I've been this way for as long as I can remember. So it's more of like, I don't, well, you can tell me more about this, Alan, but just I'm picking up from Melissa that she's profiled herself to be closed off and withdrawn, and she'd really like to open up and be more connected to other people, but she's also aware that this is something that she's just developed for self-protection, which I can appreciate because I've done that for a long time. And so what would be a gold nugget here for Melissa?
Okay, well, I'm talking from personal experience here as well myself. As I said, when I grew up, father died when I was young. I was actually 9 when I tried to commit suicide. I just felt I didn't have a place in this world at all. And so I virtually lived as a loner. I shut everybody out. If anyone got close, I'd move away. Now I just rejoice with the people I have around me, and my arms are open all the time to accept more people coming in. Once you start to realize that this is something you really want to change, then you go, okay. And it goes back to what we just said a moment ago, finding the right coach. It's finding the right people as well. Give that little bit, don't push your envelope right out, because if you do pick the wrong person, it's just going to push you right back again. But extend your envelope a little bit, start to reach out to people, see who actually will listen to you without trying to fix your problem, who will actually just give you that bit of time to sit and hold your space. And find those and start and get a number of them around you, not just one person, because that's putting a hell of a burden on somebody. Because I guarantee the moment that you feel that, oh, I've got someone who's going to listen, you're then going to explode with what you're going to share with them. And you're going to hit them with so much that even no matter how much they want to be there for you, that emotional empathy, the impact of that, it's going to cause them to withdraw a little bit. And if you've been focusing on, you know, protecting yourself all the way through, I guarantee that you're going to pick their energies up really fast, and you'll feel them withdraw a little bit, and negatively you will take that as a negative and therefore feel that they're pulling away, and you're back to shutting yourself down and shutting yourself down bigger than you did before. It's find 4 or 5 people who can listen to you, who will take that space and hold it for you. But also remember, don't just let it out. It's like somebody who was a born again Christian, for instance. All of a sudden they want to share everything with everybody, and they just inundate. So it's a case of being somebody then who goes, okay, share a little bit, see the responses you get, but don't overburden the other person, but also be thankful and respectful to the time that they give you as well.
Yeah, there's so much self-awareness practice involved in that advice, and it's brilliant. In the Atomic Self-Love Project, which is a group coaching program that I teach, there is a module called Life Inventory model. And it's really important when you want, like Alan said, when you are ready for the change, when you know that it's time for your transformation, your essence has evolved into something that you realize you are, you deserve a better life than what it's been so far. So, and I always recommend that you do a life inventory, and really to put it simply, it's sitting down and just being able to write down the people, the places, and the experiences that are currently in your life, and what do they do for you? Are they people that amplify your joyful life, or are they negating your life further? And having that awareness, first of all, that's it. Like, this is my inventory. When I first did my life inventory, I tell you, the column where people were toxic were like that long, and the people that were good for me were probably that short. So I had to make that decision. This is why I'm always spiraling down. However, I try my best, and so I had to fix the list. And like Alan said, it's not an overnight result, and it takes a lot of self-awareness to give yourself that space of growth, because when you're dealing with people in the list, people, places, experiences in the inventory, when you're dealing with people, they weren't exactly born to help you 100%. They're just people that are good for you. So like Alan was always stressing about, emphasizing about the levels of compassion. So you want people to go to have the compassionate empathy for you, which means don't bombard them with a lot. And if people ever stay stuck in the emotional empathy, that's okay too. Just give them some understanding, and don't use that as a more fuel for you to withdraw. Because remember, it's your time for transformation, and you can do this. You've got this. Because if not now, when? And if not you, then there's no one else who's going to initiate and ignite and really activate that transformation and change for you. So I think it was Melissa. Like Alan and I, we have been through what you've been through. It's really that cocooning ourselves in the shell, because it's too painful out there. There's just too much hurt, and no one's been much around to protect us. So I understand you. I feel you. And I've been there, and I had to, unfortunately for me, I had to go through a near-death experience before I could make a decision to fix it and go through the life inventory. And this is why I'm so passionate about this, because I don't want people to be going through extreme cases now of near-death experiences before they can wake up. You can do this without extreme life events. Just have that, like tonight might be the night that you go to bed and think about, wow, it's really time for change, and where do I start? And feel free to reach out to me, to Alan. There's help available. So I have come to the end of the show, and that is a little bit sad, but I'm also very, very, very grateful. So Alan, would you share with us just where can we find you, your website, which I've got it on top of this video for those who want to click on it, and also could give us some. How do we, with our relationships, whether that's professional, business, or personal, moving forward into 2021, what's one thing that we can always, have in our mind, in our self-awareness, so that we're empowered to be good profilers and communicators?
Okay. Well, first of all, as you said, my website, alanstevens.com.au. There's also, there's also the Campfire Project on Facebook. So I'd recommend to everybody to come along and join there and sit in and listen to the conversations. We've had almost 400 hours now of one-on-one conversations and panel discussions where we talk about issues that affect us today. So that's a good place. Just come in and sit. You don't have to get actively involved. And sit and learn from that. So pick things up. The thing I always recommend to people is that remember, what you do for yourself dies with you, but what you do for the community and for other people isn't always will be eternal. And it's where the We Together movement came from. It was all about doing things together. We are social beings. We are tribal creatures. We need those connections. Open up a little bit and share the things that you're feeling, but listen to see the person who just takes that space and listens to you. I found a great honour in the fact that people have shared so much with me in the Campfire Project, and sitting there for that long period of time, I found really comfortable and easy. At the same time, I've by asking a few questions along the way, not giving people advice and telling them what to do, but asking when they're talking, listen to what they're saying, listen generously and listen thoughtfully to what they're saying, and then ask them questions about what they've said, turn it into a conversation. You'll find their energies will shift. They'll get out of that emotional empathy where we all get caught, and you can guide them through to the compassionate empathy where you can find some solutions without having to needed to have told them anything of what to do themselves. Guide them so that they work out. Same as when we've got children. We're not carpenters, we're not sculptors of our children, we are gardeners. Our job is to nurture them to be the best versions of themselves. And to do that, we need to listen and be present with them. And it's the same thing with our partners.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I love that. And I'll be having a pillow talk with more listening time tonight with my partner. That's my promise. I thank every one of you for being with us tonight on the Atomic Self-Love Project. And I hope to see you again on Sunday evening next week. And in the meantime, go out there and don't forget to believe in you and love yourself. So good night, everybody. And in behalf of all the audience, Alan, we thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Good night. Bye.